Brad, you are back. I think you got to go back to Disneyland.
I know, man. Oh, that was brutal. I mean, I was there when the Dodgers won their wild card game.
Yeah.
And if you hear me talking softly, it's because we drove back from Disneyland today, and we got up at 4:30, 10-hour drive,
Whew.
and everybody else is asleep in the house, so I'm the only one up.
How are you even awake?
I don't know. This isn't.
What are you drinking there?
Well, I've got a little Buffalo Trace.
Okay.
To might have some tears in it too. I don't.
Yeah.
know. I mean,
Yeah.
That was not a pretty game, but yeah. So the day was long, and I got home about 40 minutes before the game started. I go, I'll settle in. I'll get ready for the game real quick and blah blah blah. And so I did all that, and I sat down and boom, 2-0. Good Lord. I'm like, I did not drive all the way home all day long for this nonsense.
I know. But,
yeah.
So I think anybody who's going to watch this, including the people who are watching us live, welcome. Thank you for suffering with us through this. We're not alone. Our friends are here. To those listening on the audio version of the podcast, same deal. Thank you for suffering through this with us.
Yes.
Yesterday was the high of highs, and today we are humbled, and it was the low of lows. Though I will say the one thing that could have been worse is, as you're tired as heck right now, they could have gone into extra innings and lost.
Yes,
that would have been worse.
Yeah.
So they didn't do that. They made it a quick one too. They didn't sit there and stretch this thing out. So my buddy, he saw yesterday, he said, no Jim Beam today. No, I got the Jim Beam. It's the Jim Beam.
Yeah.
And the Zevia Cherry Cola.
There you go.
In my glass right now. Thank you to Albert.
I wouldn't blame you too if you were just hitting it straight from the bottle at this point.
Well, that's what I was going to say, which is, if you had decided to pour a little extra for this one, I would not have blamed you at all.
It's a little bit taller than it was a long day. I had a lot of coffee this morning, so yeah, I gotta get to bed at some point. So I gotta have a little helper.
There's not much to cover from a positive standpoint for the Giants in this one. There are things that I, as someone who studies this stuff pretty closely, I do want to bring up a few topics, but we kind of talked about this before we started, which is the idea of like, what is the lead for this game? If you were writing a game, or if you were writing something, so sit on it. We'll play the we'll play the intro video here, and we'll come back and we'll get your lead for this game.
Bedrosian throws to Sandberg, and the pitch is grounded to second base. Thompson has it, throws to first. It's over. 27 years of waiting have come to an end. The Giants have won the pennant.
Brad, so your lead, I'm assuming it's not a great, it's not a positive one.
No, it's not.
But I have mine. I'll let you go first.
Okay.
Let's talk about what would be your lead for this game.
My lead for this game, I'm going to channel my inner Denny Green, because leading into this one, Giants took a 4-0 win yesterday.
Yes.
Shut out the Dodgers, one of the top offenses in the world, not just MLB, but the world. No. So my lead today is the Dodgers are who we thought they were, because we knew they weren't going to lay down this series. It wasn't going to be like yesterday, every single game. Those bats were going to come alive. Did we think it was going to come against Gausman? Not necessarily, and it wasn't necessarily against Gossman. It was the bullpen. The bullpen just kind of, came in and like you had talked about, earlier, just kind of got behind hitters, and so did Gossman early too. Got behind hitters.
Yes.
And you don't come back from that. That's a really tough thing to come back from, especially with this lineup. They were laying off borderline pitches.
Yes.
Angel Hernandez was not as terrible as everybody thinks he normally is. Tonight he was okay. He wasn't awful. His calls went both ways, and he was letting a lot of close pitches go. Some stuff was touching the imaginary box that you see on TV, which how accurate is that? I don't really know. But some of the pitches were touching those boxes and he wasn't calling them. And some of them were a little bit outside of that box and he was calling those. So it was kind of hard to get a read on his strike zone tonight. But that's it. That's what I go with, is the Dodgers are who we thought they were, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, mine is going to be similar. It's going to be a little bit more on the Giants, but it's going to be related to what you said, which is yesterday we learned that the Dodgers were over aggressive. They were waving at stuff that they thought was coming, and Giants went heavy changeups. Like Buster Posey really figured it out early on, because Logan Webb threw more changeups than he's thrown in any game, I believe.
Yeah.
And so the Dodgers were out front of everything, trying to hit a home run with every single pitch, guessing. And credit to them, because they laid back and they figured out that was not the best strategy there. But the flip side and the difference between a Logan Webb yesterday and a Kevin Gossman today is what you said, which is when you throw strikes and the other hitters are behind, you can go wide with the slider. You can go down with a changeup. And there was a lot of 0-1, 0-2 counts for Logan Webb yesterday. Tonight, Kevin Gossman was having trouble getting that first pitch over. He was pitching from behind a lot. So if it's 1-0 or if it's 2-1, you can lay back and just wait for a fastball. You see a little split action on that, or you see a little slide action on it. You go, okay, I still got a strike to deal with. I'm just going to lay off. And here's the one at bat that defined both sides, what each team was doing correctly. So let me go to the scores, because it was in the sixth inning, and so they let Trey Turner. I mean, they let Gossman go out in the sixth. So Trey Turner doubles down left field line to start that inning. Justin Turner strikes out. Will Smith walks. One strike. It was 3-1, and he walks him. So in a sense, it was almost like Gossman was pitching around him to set up the automatic out at the bases. But in a sense, also, by doing that, he took himself out of the game. So maybe that was the strategy, setting up the force. But at the same time, now we go to the bullpen. So Dominic Leone comes in. So what Gossman just did is he walks someone to set up a force. And so now you got to pitch to the ground ball. And Leone then walks Chris Taylor. Cody Bellinger has zero clue what is going on right now. Yesterday, he was swinging at changeups like they were 95 mile per hour fastballs right down the middle.
Yeah.
He was just guessing. He had no clue what was going on.
Yeah. It was a two-cheek guess on every pitch.
So because you just walk the guy before, and because Gossman walked his last batter, you're Bellinger, and he may not even be thinking in this way because he's so screwed up. Leone throws him the only pitch he can hit. And he hits a ball that, almost goes out, double. And that's the game right there. The Giants were semi-lucky to be in it 2-1 when they were, because they didn't really have any clutch hits. They were kind of moving guys over. Donovan Solano got a sack fly to score their one. But it was pretty clear that Urias was dealing. He was throwing a good game. And so once that happened, and then he gave up another double right after that. But really 4-1 was pretty much the end of the game. The Giants would score one more run. But if you think about what happened yesterday, one team adjusted, and the reason why they were able to adjust is because of Kevin Gossman getting behind and because of the bullpen, Dominic Leone. Now, this is something that we've talked about all year long, which is the bullpen was really good this year, but there were a lot of guys who, these guys don't have ton of playoff success or even experience. And there was a quote one of the broadcasters made saying, the Dodgers on their entire staff have like X number of saves. Oh, and the Giants, like a lot of their pitch was like, man, those guys don't even have that many innings if you add up their major and minor league careers, so it's a different ball game. And I'm kind of happy that this game, when it was 4-1, it kind of got away from them. The one thing I'm happy about is some of these guys got a little bit of work in. Leone, not great. Littell gives up a jack to Big Willie Styles. And Mac Cheese had a solid inning, got out of there decently. So, they got their feet wet in a game that was already pretty much gone. And so I know I made that a very long thing, but one team adjusted and the other team sort of allowed it to happen. And that's I thought that was the story of the game. We can talk a little bit more about some of the things. Like there were opportunities for the Giants. There was I forget what inning it was, but Buster started the inning off with a double, stranded him. The one inning that they got that second run, 1 out, runner on first and second, they could only get one because Wilmer was, I don't know if he was just running slow to get thrown at third on a base hit to right field with 2 out, so he's running on contact, or maybe he rounded the bag a little. It was a great throw. I mean, Mookie Betts made a great throw, but I feel like any halfway decent base runner probably sneaks in there, and there's just like mistakes like that, right? Wilmer's had leg injuries all year. He's not very fast either. Maybe he should not have been in the ball game at that point. Maybe someone else should have been running there, whatever. But that's not why they lost. But it was just opportunities like that, where the small opportunities they had, they could not make it hard on the Dodgers. And the Dodgers played an excellent game. They hit the baseball, they hit it out of the park, they hit it with 2 outs, whatever you want to say, that's what they did. So in this kind of moment for me, like, because we've watched like heartbreaking playoff baseball, and to me, this was just like, okay, Dodgers played excellent and played crappy. Let's just go back to Monday.
Yeah, and the Giants, you always feel like pretty much all year long, games and series like this, the Giants have to play lights out, like they did last night, and get a 4-0 win. And then the other team can turn around and make it look effortless the next day. But the Giants always find a way to bounce back. I know, I mean, it almost kind of felt like a must win today, even though they were up 1-0 in the series, because you're going to Los Angeles for 2. You got Scherzer on Monday night. So and they announced Alex Wood going. Yeah, he's going for the Giants on Monday. So it's always, it kind of felt like a must win tonight. But again, this is a 107 win team. The Dodgers are a 106 win team. They're so evenly matched. The Giants won, the series 10-9 this year. So these are 2 very evenly matched teams. It's not shocking that after 2 games, it's a 1-1 series. We were hoping for a little bit more competitiveness tonight. We didn't get it, even though Gossman was on the mound for the Giants. But again, the Dodgers were patient. They were patient at the plate. They walked 4 times. They even left 14 runners on base. The Giants left 12 runners on base. I mean, it was one of those games where I think I was counting. It was something after the first 2 complete innings, both pitchers had combined for almost 80 pitches.
Yeah, that's what I thought was going to get Urias in trouble. Was just, I think after, gosh, he'd already been past 30 pitches, in the middle of the second inning or whatever, and I was like, oh, that could be a thing. But it didn't really affect him. I mean, he only threw, did he go 5 or 6?
He ended up going 5.
Yeah, he went 5, so he was fine.
Yeah, he threw 72 pitches on the night. And Gossman ended up throwing 84, and Gossman went 5 1/3. So yeah, I mean, the pitch counts went up for both the guys. And that's obviously something you've got to watch for Alex Wood coming up on Monday night. The Giants used a little bit of their bullpen tonight. And that's the great thing about the bullpen. I'm not worried about the bullpen. It's not, you see on Twitter, I saw a couple comments that, oh, Giants bullpen came back down to earth. No, I mean, the Dodgers hitters were on tonight. And again, they were patient. They weren't letting things, they weren't just, hacking away like they were last night and swinging out of their cheeks. And I mean, you look at the Giants back into the bullpen, especially with that nice 1 inning from McGee tonight. So you got McGee, you got Rogers, you got Duvall. So if the Giants go into the latter part of the game with a lead, just like the Dodgers, because they can do the same thing, you feel confident. You feel like, okay, the Giants have some shutdown from 7 through 9. It's just a matter of getting there like they did last night. So I expect more competitiveness out of them on Monday night in terms of the offense. I think they're going to come with a plan against Scherzer. Scherzer can be beat. I mean, he's not unbeatable.
The Giants faced Scherzer this year?
They did not. They did not face him this year. I kept looking for the stats as the season went on. As we were lining up for those last couple of series against the Dodgers, I kept looking at that saying, oh, let's look at, nope, never faced him this year. And I think the one time they faced him last year, 2019, he didn't even get out of the first inning, because they didn't face him last year during COVID. They didn't play against the Eastern teams. And 2019, he didn't get out of, I think, the first inning. He was injured. Oh, no. Or you know what? That was this year. He didn't get out of the first inning. The one time they faced the Nationals earlier in the season.
Got it.
He got injured in the first. I think he had a lat or something. It was, or you know what? I think it was his shoulder or his elbow, whatever the injury was that everybody was worried about before the trade deadline. That's, what happened when he pitched against the Giants. So, but yeah, so, I mean, he is beatable. He throws hard. Giants are a good fastball hitting team. But his location and his demeanor and, his fieriness and his competitiveness is what puts him over the top.
Yeah,
I mean, he's tough this time of year, so should be a fun game Monday night, I think.
This has all sort of gives me the feelings of Verlander versus Barry Zito kind of all over again.
Yeah, exactly. Or like not as far as Rally Zito. Against the Cardinals. That was but because I mean, Alex Wood, he's pitched at Dodger Stadium. The crowd will be against him this time. They're going to be pretty jacked up, but he's going to be jacked up too, because he wants to beat his old team in the playoffs, especially after letting them walk. He's got something to prove against them, so it should definitely be fun.
Yeah, that's a great point. So back to your point about why this was kind of a must win. It wasn't a must win because you don't have your back against the wall, but essentially what this is now is best 2 out of 3. 2 of those games in Dodger Stadium. So that's what it is. That's what we signed up for. We got the home field advantage. We took care of business in game 1. We did not in game 2. So that's what that sets up. The one other thing before we just kind of go over the scoring, and then we'll talk a little bit about Monday's game, which is, I don't know if you noticed this, but Urias was placing the fastball just above the strike zone. And similarly to last night's game with the Dodgers, the Giants were very aggressive in that zone. They could not lay off that pitch. They were fouling a ton of pitches off. That's part of the reason why Urias had so many pitches thrown in those first couple innings. They're just fouling, like Chris Bryant's just fouling everything off. But if they could lay off that pitch, that would have forced him to come down a little bit, and they couldn't. Even later in the game, when the relievers were coming, and it is a little bit of a different thing. The Giants have a really solid bullpen. The statistics and numbers say that they had an excellent bullpen, but there's a little bit of a different thing when you see the Dodgers' arms coming out of the bullpen. Everyone in the Dodgers seems like they throw in the high 90s.
Yeah.
And, the Giants have some hard throwers too, but not that hard outside of Duvall. So that's an interesting thing to kind of keep an eye on. But yeah, so if, I just noticed that a lot of the balls that they were swinging and popping up on were just above the numbers, and balls that if they had kind of let those pitches go, we're probably getting better counts, when it comes to later in the count. You're seeing more fastballs, a little bit lower pitches you can hit because you don't want to put in guys on base. I'm interested in if anybody points that out with this post game stuff with Kapler and such, because you can very much compare it to what the Dodgers did yesterday, swinging out of the zone, a little aggressive, and they made the adjustments, and I'm sure the Giants will make those adjustments on Monday as well.
Yeah, and I think I don't know how much this played into it, but Urias got a couple of calls from Angel Hernandez early in the game, pitches that were just above the strike zone.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of figured too, if they're going to lay off those, I might even get those calls.
Yeah.
So he was kind of living up there for a little while, and it was a bit tough to watch because I thought, if you can let one or two go by, was that just an Angel Hernandez blip? I mean, that's what he does. You can throw 4 pitches in the exact same location, and he's going to call 2 of them balls and 2 of them strikes. It's just sometimes what he does on those borderline pitches. But he did call a couple of those early on in the game, just above the strike zone. He was throwing 95, 96 up there, and he called him strikes. So he said, well, okay, cool. I'm just going to go ahead and live up there because the Giants are aggressive up there.
Mm-hmm.
And if they let one go, I might just get the call.
Yeah. I mean, on the positive side, Buster had 3 hits today, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, Buster's on fire. The rest of the team tonight, again, there was one inning too. I went on Twitter and said, that's the hack attack that we don't want to see. It was like 8 pitches and Urias is back in the dugout, and Giants just went up there and just hacked away, and you wanted to see a little bit more patience out of them tonight. Didn't quite get that, but
they had 6 hits, 3 of them were Buster.
Yeah, and I think Tom Cruise ruined the whole thing, though.
Okay, so this was my thing.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, in game 1, we had Barry Bonds and Chris Mullen sitting right next to each other.
Oh, nice.
Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, Steve Young, they're there. They're getting the Beat LA chants going. And then I see none other than Mr. Top Gun himself, Tommy Cruise. And I'm like, oh, we got this game. This game's in the bag. Tom Cruise is here. That was the worst thing for us, I think.
Yeah, I think so. That fully jinxed us. Yeah. And it didn't even really, I showed my wife a picture of him. I go, hey, did you see what Tom Cruise looks like right now? She goes, what? Is he bloated? He looks bloated. I said, yeah, I don't know. Had a little salt in his diet
I mean, he's a little older now. He's got to be at least 10 years, 12 years older than us, right?
Oh, I would think so. Yeah.
How old is Tom Cruise? I'm gonna look this up.
All right, you got to check that out. Yeah, but that was so. I listened to the game.
59. He's 59.
59. Wow, that's old. Yeah, I listened to the game last night, so I didn't get the full feel of I got the full feel from the audio, but not the full visual of everything that was going on until I got back to the hotel at the end of the night and watched the highlights and everything. But again, the 4-man booth of Miller, Fleming, Kruko, Kuiper. I mean, that's fun. That's definitely a lot of fun. Good way to listen to the game. If you can sync up the audio and video. I didn't do that tonight.
No, I didn't do it either.
Yeah, I mean, Ron Darling's kind of a goofball. I mean,
my dad was hammering Darling throughout this entire game. He's I'll read the tweet here that he sent to us. So he said, he goes, so when Bellinger hit the double off the fence, he goes, that made Ron Darling so happy. And then after the second double, the Pollock double, he goes, tell me Ron Darling isn't biased. So he was on good old Ron there.
Yeah, he's if you have MLB.TV and if you watch any Mets games during the year, you get your full fill of Ron Darling, who he's fun to listen to, but he does get old pretty quick. But
I like Joe Buck. He says that when he does games, he gets equal amount of feedback from both sides saying that he is biased towards the other team.
Yeah, which is perfect. That means you're not biased. I mean, that's really what it means.
All right, so let's go through the scoring here.
Yeah.
Not a lot of scoring for the Giants, but in the second, I mean, it's just kind of a bad omen here. Urias singles to score the first run. You got the pitcher there. You need a big strikeout here to kind of get out of this inning. And he hangs, I think it was a splitter. He just hung it like right in the happy zone.
He was having problems with that splitter being up. And like I had mentioned too, it was just kind of lazy. Early on in the game, it was lazy, hanging, not a lot of bite. And as the game went on, it got nastier, bitier, and was tight, just dropping right out of the zone. But early on, it was not pretty.
Then Mookie Betts singled in the next plate appearance, next at bat. So Dodgers lead 2-0. Bottom of the second. This is where we got our first run of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Donovan Solano sacrifice fly to Chris Taylor. Wilmer scores. So when I saw Wilmer score on this play, my original thought was, oh, he's got a little pep in his step tonight.
Yeah,
that did not come to be when we needed him to have the pep.
But Betts, I mean, that throw was
it was a great throw. Fantastic play.
Yeah, that was a money throw. So, but yeah, if you need a guy to go from first to third, and the game's on the line, Wilmer's not your guy.
So we go all the way to the sixth, and the game's 2-1, and the Giants. They didn't look like they were solving Urias, but they were hanging in there, and they were going to hang in there as long as Gausman was able to hang in there. But this is where they take Gausman out of the game. Cody Bellinger doubles on the fat Dominic Sierra Leone pitch, scores Trey Turner, scores Will Smith, and the very next pitch, AJ Pollock doubles, scores Chris Taylor, scores Cody Bellinger. So a 2-1 game. Very quickly is 6-1. And then in the bottom of the sixth, the Giants did get one back. This is where we're talking about. Brandon Crawford hits a single to right field. Mookie plays it perfectly. Lamont Wade scores, and then he throws out Wilmer Flores at third. So that was a possible, opportunity for the Giants to do something. But they made a play. Dodgers made a play. Giants didn't make a play. 6-2. And then it was just a little bit of a pile on. Will Smith hits a home run in the top of the eighth. That was off of Littell. And then Beatty singles on a ground ball. The Giants were shifting. He's a left-handed hitter. He just slapped one to where Brandon Crawford would have normally played. And because of the shift, it goes through. Chris Taylor scores. AJ Pollock to second. And then Corey Seager hits a line drive to right field. AJ Pollock scores, and that is where the scoring ended. Dodgers win 9-2. And now we come to Monday. Monday is we'll see I imagine the Giants will throw out the lineup that is a little bit closer to what they did in game one because of the right-hander Scherzer. So we'll probably see a La Stella. We'll probably see a baby Yaz. Austin Slater got the start. I was actually surprised that Yaz didn't play or didn't start because, usually you have, whenever there's a lefty, they basically have two lefties. They have Crawford and they have Yaz not come off the bench. But they didn't have Yaz today. They had Slater in right field. They had Chris Bryant in center. And then they had Darren Ruff in left. The Darren Ruff leadoff thing did not work today.
Nope.
It was not.
I mean, the first at bat he battled, right?
Yeah.
And again, high fastballs. I mean, he was battling and fighting off high fastballs. But yeah, I mean, obviously not your prototypical leadoff hitter. The Giants have only used him in the leadoff spot. I think they said in the broadcast 7 times, which sounds about right. But still, it's tough to watch when you're like, we've got Yaz, we've got Lamont Wade Jr. We've got a couple other guys who can probably fill that spot. But again, against a lefty, it gets kind of tough. What do you do?
So when it comes to Scherzer, the wild card game, he only got into the 5th inning and they pulled him out, and then they went to their bullpen. The Dodgers bullpen, a little bit more taxed than the Giants. They've thrown more innings in this series, though you got the day off. So I imagine each bullpen will be pretty fresh. I'm really interested to see what happens when they go to the bullpen for the Giants in a game 3. Or, Alex Wood could just throw a 9-inning shutout, and we won't have to worry about it. But more than likely, just the way the baseball works today, he's going to have to, we're going to have to look at the bullpen because, Leon, I think he pitched. No, he didn't pitch yesterday. It was Rogers and then Duvall.
Right.
So, do you go right back to Leon? Littell gave up 3 runs. So those guys, they were not fooling anybody with the Dodgers, though. You got a Mac Cheese. And if the game's close, I'm sure it's a Tyler Rogers versus a Leon or a Littell. And then, you got Duvall. So if you can get to the top 3 relievers for the Giants, I think they're sitting nice. Even, Garcia was okay. He gave up 1 hit, but he's kind of their guy to face lefties. So if Wood gives them 5 or 6, I think they're okay if the game is close, because Scherzer, he's going to come at the Giants, and I would expect him to be a little bit more like he was, I guess with the exception of the last few starts of the season, though maybe there is something going on. Who knows? And maybe he is not as good as he can be, and I'd be fine with that. I don't want the guy to have an injury, but I'd be fine with him not being the Max Scherzer that we all, I guess I wouldn't say know and love, know and hate.
Right.
But yeah, so this is a big game. This is the game of the series, I think, because if you're the Giants and you go down 2-1, home field advantage is out the door, right? It's elimination game time, and I think then if it is elimination game time, and we'll talk about this more because it's not there yet, but do you have do you come back with a Logan Webb, or do you go to DeSclafani and just kind of do what you've been doing and make it a bullpen game? Like, that's going to be an interesting decision. My Dodger friend buddy thinks that the Dodgers are going to go 3-man rotation in this series. I haven't heard anything about that. But would they bring back Walker Buehler on a Tuesday after he throws his first game on a Friday night? That seems a little sketchy.
This early in the NLDS, I wouldn't go that route, because then again, what do you do in the NLCS? If you get that far, but like you said too, I mean, if there is an elimination game on Tuesday, what do you do? Is it Webb? Because what happens Monday night? Let's say Wood goes out there and, has a tough time through 2 innings. He's already up to 60, 70 pitches. He's given up a couple runs. Do you go disco at that point? I mean, does DeSclafani come in?
That decision is a little easier if you had Cueto on the roster, right? And then they didn't put Cueto on the roster. So that game 4, if you did that, would either have to be Logan Webb on less rest or a complete bullpen game. And at that point, you're trying to win. You're obviously trying to win game 3, but it is not an elimination game. Game 4 would be the elimination game. So it'll be interesting the way that they manage this, because this is a new, I think I could predict what Bochy would do. But again, Bochy had Bumgarner just sitting there going like, "Hey, I just pitched yesterday. I'm ready. Let's go."
Exactly. I can go 18 today.
Yeah. Hey man, you need to get some sleep. I really appreciate you staying up. I know, we've been looking forward to doing this. So we're gonna be back on Monday after the game. Yep. As long as it doesn't go like 18 innings, we'll be back. Well, if it goes late, we may have to come back in the morning or something.
I'm gonna sleep in tomorrow. and then I'll be.
You don't have any Rammies because your Rammies took care of business on Thursday.
That's right, and I'll be working from home on Monday, so it's all good. It's all good.
All right,
it's no problem. Let's stay up as late as we have to.
I'm there with you. All right, thanks to Brad for hanging out. He's back. I think he just needed to be back and ready to go. Monday, the baseball gods will treat us a little bit better. I think maybe they were a little bothered that we didn't, whatever. But thanks to Peter though for hanging out with us for these last 2 shows. But Brad is back. We'll be back Monday. For Brad, I'm Double G. See you when we see you. Peace out.
Peace.